All right. For this challenge exercise, this one's deceptively simple. Kind of like the second one you could do with just lines and dimensions. This one you can actually do with just circles and dimensions. So let's get started. I've already got my sketch open, ready to go. I am going to start with this circle on the bottom, and I'm going to use that centered at the origin. So there's a circle that's 40 millimeters in radius. So here I'm going to be a little bit careful because Onshape defaults to using the diameter. So if the radius is 40, the diameter in this case is 80. I'm going to go up here kind of where I think this next circle should be. Sketch that circle. It says radius is 20, so I know the diameter is going to be 40. And I know that the distance between the center points of these circles is 210, so let me go ahead and do that. Be a little bit careful how I orient that dimension. And now, I don't know exactly relative to this circle where it's supposed to be, and that's not actually going to matter too much for this one, because I don't need to know where the orientation of this circle is. So we'll work through the rest of this, and hopefully everything should be worked out. Now I'm going to look at, like, if I got this circle, I got this kind of jelly bean shaped thing around the outside. And if I think about what's going on here, what I have is part of a circle here. I've got part of a circle here, part of a circle here, and another part of a circle here. So I really got just kind of a bunch of circles, a bunch of arcs that are part of the circle surrounding this. And so I am going to, again, start with the bottom one here. I'm going to go ahead and draw a bigger circle around this. This is going to form this part of the edge. So that has got a distance of 40 from the bottom circle. So I'm going to click one circle, click the other. Oops, let me escape and try that again. I'm going to click one circle, click the other circle, and that'll let me set the distance between the circles themselves. So that should be 40. I'm going to go over here, do the same thing to this guy, except that the circle going around this guy should be 20 millimeters away from the top circle. And so I'm not going to end up needing all of this circle, and I'll show you how to trim this circle away. But if I look at, like, this part here, that's kind of its own circle. It's got a radius of 75, and the center point of that circle is going to be down here somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this. And we'll see this circle coming along this bottom part of the jelly bean is going to intersect the circle I put around this bottom circle at some point. So I'm going to draw my circle. I know it's got a radius of 75. So that gives it a diameter of 150. And I know wherever the circle is located, it's got to touch both of my other circles. So there's a couple ways we can do this. We're going to need to use some of these geometric constraints to make this work. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a point on this circle, and I'm going to drag this point and attach it to this circle. And so now these two circles are attached at that point. And I'm going to do the same thing up here to this circle, because I want these two circles to touch. And I can drag this up here, or I can go up here and use what's called the coincident tool. Coincident will make a point lie on a curve or a line. And so now that's adjusted so that I got a point on the circle. Now, the other thing I want to look at is that these two circles, they don't look like they overlap each other. like this one up here overlaps. Looks like they should probably only touch each other at one point. And that's what's called a tangent. And so in this constraint menu, there's something called a tangent constraint. And so if I click two lines or curves, or a line and a curve, it's going to make these curves intersect at only one point. I'm going to do the same thing down here to make sure that's tangent as well. And so you'll see that that's kind of, all my blue lines have turned black. It's fully constrained now. I'm going to do kind of the same thing with this big guy up here. If I look at what this is a big circle. It's got a radius of 180. Its center point's got to be down here somewhere. So again, I'm just going to start by sketching this big circle. And I believe that this guy's got to be tangent to this exterior circle here. So I'm going to make that tangent. I'm going to make it tangent to this circle. And now I think I've got enough to finish this thing up. Let me go ahead and dimension the big circle, which is 180, so the diameter is 360. I got a lot of extra stuff here that I don't need. If you look at your menu, there should be something called trim, and trim will remove part of a curve that's intersecting another part of a curve. So I'm going to click trim. I don't need this big part of the circle down here. I'm going to get rid of it. I don't need this big part of this little circle down here. I'm going to get rid of that. And what I end up with is a jelly bean that looks pretty much like this jelly bean. Let me go through and clean these guys up too. So those are part of the designs that I don't need. So that looks pretty similar. I think we are good to go. No blue lines. All the lines and curves are black, so that means everything is fully dimensioned.